Mission Possible is a new track I created under my music alias NEKRO 1990, based on the Mission Impossible opening theme song. Is streaming everywhere that music can be streamed. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Pandora, wherever. Check it out. Spy movies are sexy. Every spy series has its femme fatales. James Bond would be the trendsetter with his iconic roster of Bond girls. Austin Powers is probably the king of the pussy pounders, with mojo being his defining superpower. But Ethan Hunt holds the record for the most lethal baddies in the spy game. In the high-stakes world of the Mission Impossible series, the female characters are vital threads in the fabric of espionage, betrayal, and relentless action, each serving a distinct purpose that drives the franchise forward. Before we get into the details of all these lovely dames, this is a sibling video, I guess you would say the sister video, to another video I made on the Mission Impossible series. The other video is a detailed explanation of how to have a Mission Impossible marathon and some fun facts about all the movies. So if you're interested in more Mission Impossible content, you can watch that video after this one if you haven't seen it already. But in that video, I also linked to this one, so I don't know which one you guys are seeing first. In our first Mission Impossible, Emmanuelle Béart plays Claire Phelps, wife to Jim Phelps, who's played by Jon Voight, who is revealed to be part of a conspiracy against Ethan. In the film, Ethan and Claire share a complex and evolving relationship. Claire is introduced as a fellow IMF agent and the wife of Jim Phelps, Ethan's mentor. After a disastrous mission leaves most of their team dead, including Jim, seemingly, Ethan and Claire are among the few survivors. As Ethan works to uncover the conspiracy behind the betrayal, he and Claire grow closer, their bond fueled by a shared grief and the need to survive. This culminates in a subtle romantic tension, though Ethan remains cautious, suspecting everyone due to the mole within their ranks. In Mission Impossible 2, Ethan Hunt and Nordoff-Hall, played by Thandie Newton, share a passionate yet perilous relationship. Nyah, a skilled thief, is recruited by Ethan to infiltrate the life of Sean Ambrose, a rogue IMF agent, and her former lover, to stop him from unleashing a deadly virus. Their connection sparks quickly during a chance encounter in Spain, blending flirtation with high-stakes danger, and soon deepens into a genuine romance. Ethan's affection for Nyah drives his determination to protect her, even as he sends her into Ambrose's orbit, creating tension between his mission and his feelings. Nyah's bravery shines when she injects herself with the virus to prevent Ambrose from using it, forcing Ethan into a desperate race against time to save her. Their bond is cemented by mutual sacrifice and trust, culminating in a bittersweet reunion after Ethan secures the cure, leaving them free to pursue their romance, at least for the moment. In Mission Impossible 3, Ethan Hunt and Julia Meade, played by Michelle Monaghan, share a deeply personal and pivotal relationship that marks a shift in Ethan's life. Julia, a compassionate and grounded nurse, represents a chance for Ethan to step away from the relentless world of espionage. When the film begins, they are engaged, and Ethan has semi-retired from fieldwork, training IMF recruits to build a quieter life with her. Their bond is built on love and mutual support, with Julia unaware of Ethan's true profession. He's told her he works for the Department of Transportation, concealing his spy life to protect her. This illusion shatters when Ethan is pulled back into a mission to rescue a protege, and Julia becomes a target of Owen Davian, a relentless arms dealer played by Philip Seymour Hoffman. Davian kidnaps Julia to force Ethan's compliance, revealing the stakes of his double life. Their relationship is tested when Ethan races to save her, culminating in a tense showdown where Julia's captured and Ethan's forced to confront his enemies head-on. In a climactic twist, Julia proves her resilience by killing one of Davian's men to save Ethan after he's briefly incapacitated. After the mission, with the truth of Ethan's IMF role exposed, Julia accepts him fully. Their relationship is a blend of tenderness and turmoil, with Julia grounding Ethan emotionally while his world threatens to destroy their happiness, a dynamic that sets the stage for her reoccurring significance in later films. In Mission Impossible 4 Ghost Protocol, Ethan does not have a traditional love interest in the form of a new romantic partner. The film shifts focus to his mission and team dynamics rather than a fresh romance. However, his relationship with Julia Meade, his former wife from Mission Impossible 3, lingers in the background. Early in the movie, it's revealed that Ethan and Julia have separated. Ethan staged her death to protect her from his dangerous life after she was targeted by enemies. This decision weighs on him, showing his lingering emotional attachment, though Julia only appears briefly at the end, alive and well, watching Ethan from afar with a bittersweet smile. Within the mission itself, Ethan works closely with Jane Carter, played by Paula Patton, a skilled IMF agent, but their relationship remains strictly professional, marked by mutual respect rather than romance. Jane has her own subplot involving a fallen teammate, keeping her emotionally occupied elsewhere. So while Ethan doesn't pursue a new love interest in Ghost Protocol, his past with Julia subtly underscores his personal stakes, leaving romance on the sidelines for this installment. However, I must give a shout out to probably the baddest of baddies in Ghost Protocol, Léa Seydoux as Sabine Mereau, a French assassin who plays a significant role in the plot to acquire nuclear launch codes. She is deadly, she is dangerous, and she is pretty damn fine. In Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation, Ethan Hunt meets a new character named Ilsa Faust, played by Rebecca Ferguson, in one of the most memorable stunts in Tom Cruise history, where Tom Cruise uses physics to climb up a pole while his hands are tied behind his head, just to get that much closer to Rebecca Ferguson. I don't blame you, Tom. If I had the physical capability, I too would use physics with my hands tied behind my head just to get a little bit closer to Rebecca Ferguson. Anyways, they develop a captivating, tension-filled relationship rooted in mutual attraction and ambiguity. Ilsa, a disavowed MI6 agent, first crosses paths with Ethan while trying to infiltrate the Syndicate, a rogue terrorist network he's hunting. Their initial encounter is adversarial. She saves his life but remains an enigma, her loyalties unclear as she oscillates between ally and operative under Syndicate leader Solomon Lane. As the mission unfolds, Ethan and Ilsa's dynamic evolves into a partnership marked by trust and unspoken chemistry. They share intense moments, like a breathless underwater heist where Ilsa revives Ethan after he nearly drowns. Highlighting their reliance on each other, Ilsa's enigmatic nature keeps Ethan on edge, yet he's drawn to her skill, courage, and moral complexity. She's not just a femme fatale, but a mirror to his own relentless drive. Their flirtation peaks in subtle gestures, but remains unconsummated, restrained by their circumstances and priorities. By the film's end, Ilsa helps Ethan capture Lane, choosing to break free from her double agent role. Though she walks away, their parting glances suggest a deeper connection, leaving their relationship open-ended yet potent, a blend of professional admiration and personal longing that sets the stage for future encounters. In Mission Impossible 6, Fallout, we have the return of both Ilsa Faust and Julia Meade, but we are also introduced to Alana Mitsopoulos, aka the White Widow, played by Vanessa Kirby, who is an arms dealer central to the plot involving plutonium cores. Ethan's primary love interest is Ilsa Faust, whose relationship with him deepens through their dynamic in Rogue Nation. Their bond is a mix of trust, mutual reliance, and an unspoken romantic tension, evident in moments like their intense Paris motorcycle chase and quiet exchanges where Ilsa's loyalty to Ethan shines through despite her conflicting MI6 ties. However, Julia, Ethan's ex-wife, also reappears, complicating matters. Julia's presence, now remarried but still caring for Ethan, steers his longing feelings and guilt over their past. Though their romance is firmly in the rear view, Ilsa emerges as the central emotional anchor in Ethan for Fallout, their connection growing stronger amid the chaos, even as it remains undefined and unfulfilled by the film's end. In Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning, we have the return of both Ilsa Faust and the White Widow. However, new femme fatales join the series, in Hayley Atwell as Grace, a professional thief who crosses paths with Ethan, leading to her involvement in the mission against a new global threat. We also have Pawn Clementif as Paris, who is also introduced as a new character, playing a silent but lethal assassin, whose role evolves from an assistant to the antagonist, Gabriel, but switches sides to help Ethan. And briefly, we have Mariela Garriga as Marie, a mysterious woman from Ethan's past who was killed by Gabriel in a flashback, significantly influencing Ethan's decision to join the IMF. In Dead Reckoning, Ethan's primary love interest is Ilsa Faust, their relationship having been built over Rogue Nation and Fallout. In Dead Reckoning, we do see subtle, intimate exchanges and a continuation of protective actions they make for each other. However, this ends tragically when Ilsa is killed by Gabriel, devastating Ethan and fueling his mission. Meanwhile, a new character, Grace, a thief who joins Ethan's team, shares flirtatious banter with him, hinting at potential future feelings. But in this film, she is not the love interest, more a partner in chaos. Ilsa remains the emotional core of Ethan's romantic arc until her death. At the time of recording this video, the final reckoning hasn't yet released, but we are getting the return of the White Widow, Grace, Paris, possibly Marie, but I'm going to predict that if Ethan Hunt does survive, I'm hoping he will have a happily ever after with Grace, played by Hayley Atwell. I think it would be suiting for him to finally settle down with one of the hottest women in Mission Impossible. But again, the movie's not out yet. I'm very much looking forward to where it goes, but I think this is a good point for me to just ask you guys. Who is your favorite femme fatale from the Mission Impossible series? While the leading female characters vary across different movies, there are some common traits and roles they tend to share. Each of the main female characters is portrayed as highly competent in their field, whether it is espionage, combat, or intelligence. There's often a complex emotional or romantic connection with Ethan Hunt. This relationship doesn't always lead to a romantic conclusion, but it adds depth to both characters. For instance, Nyah's relationship with Ethan in Mission Impossible 2 is central to the plot. It motivates both characters' actions to make extreme choices for each other. Ilsa Faust's relationship with Ethan evolves over several films, marked by trust, respect, and reliance. Another trait some of these women share is having their own agendas or missions, which sometimes intersect with Ethan's. Ilsa Faust often operating on her own terms, sometimes even against Ethan's plans for the greater good or for her own survival. Julia's involvement in Mission Impossible 3 shows her taking decisive actions for her own safety and for those she cares about. Grace, a thief whose story begins self-interested but evolves into a crucial member of Ethan's team. There's also a lot of moral ambiguity. Some of these characters have a nuanced moral compass, which adds layers to their persona, specifically with Ilsa and Grace. Ilsa operates in a gray area, working for MI6 but also having her own code of ethics. Grace is similar to Ilsa and having an extremely gray area, having romantic chemistry with Ethan while simultaneously out for her own interests. However, unlike Ilsa, she is not as skilled in physical combat. Now, while each trait isn't universal to all female characters in the series, they highlight common threads in how these characters are written and portrayed, contributing to the narrative and dynamics of the Mission Impossible films. Why didn't Nyah return in future installments? She had a key role in helping Ethan take down the protagonist Sean Ambrose, while at the same time falling in love with Ethan, even sacrificing her own future by injecting herself with the Chimera virus. However, Ethan does manage to save her, and they have an apparent happily ever after ending. Probably the most happily ever after ending out of all the other Mission Impossible films. But according to a few different interviews, Thandie Newton has stated her reasons for not wanting to return, which is due to the difficult and challenging demands that are required to make a Mission Impossible film. She has also added that the different working styles between her and Tom Cruise made filming scenes frustrating, and it was not an enjoyable experience. When talking to Vulture, she said, "I was so scared of Tom. He was a very dominant individual. He tries super hard to be a nice person, but the pressure, he takes on a lot. And I think he has this sense that only he can do everything as best as it can be done." While it was a tough shoot, Newton emphasized that Cruise was under pressure. She continues by saying, "He wasn't horrible, it was just, he was really stressed." In an appearance on the Light the Fuse podcast, according to Maggie Q, two of the hardest working people in Hollywood are her previous trainer, Jackie Chan, who we mentioned in our other video in this series, and working with Tom Cruise. Of his work ethic, she said,
"Tom is always trying to make everything better. I mean, I say what you will. I mean, people say what they want about everyone, but I know for me, when I work, it's great if you are like each other. It's great if you develop a friendship out of a professional working environment. But at the end of the day, you really just want to work with professionals, right? Who want to achieve the best work. And if that's what you want, there is no better person to work with than Tom Cruise. There's no one on the planet who fights that hard, who's always thinking, who cares as much as he does. There just isn't. And who's genuinely passionate about the product. I mean, he loves what he does, which is why when he's at work, he's in a really good mood.
Right.
Whereas, other A-listers I've worked with, it is not the same. It's not even remotely the same. And they're getting paid a lot of money.
Right.
And they don't really want to be there, Yeah. So it's a big difference.
Yeah. Did he ask you about Jackie Chan at all? Did he know that you... Because he's sort of... Now he's kind of become the American Jackie Chan, in a way.
Yeah. Well, you know what I did tell him? I think we did have a conversation about Jackie. And what I did tell him was, I said, there's only two people that I know that are the hardest workers I've ever experienced. And one is Jackie and one is him.
Wow.
So I just said, I've just never seen it. Outside of Jackie, I've never seen anyone work that hard. And Tom Cruise works that hard. Wow. Yeah. So it's cool. And then you see their level of success and you go, well, that's why. Well, I always say that to people too. I'm like, there's a reason this person's successful. It's not.
Right.
In an article from Collider, having experienced her fair share of productions with A-listers, including Live Free or Die Hard, Priest, and The Protégé, Maggie Q said that Cruise sets the bar from his work ethic alone, and that she, as a professional, craves that kind of standard to achieve. Not only does he push himself, but he's also encouraging those around him, and he is humble despite his large success, perpetuating the Cruise mythos. Q described her first day on the Mission Impossible 3 set, on a boat on the Tibet River in Rome, when Cruise asked her about her other US films. When she confessed that the franchise was her first, Cruise was in disbelief that the $200 million movie was her US film debut, but assured her that if he didn't know that, he'd assume she'd belong there. Q says she looked at the movie star and said, "I do belong here," to which Cruise responded, "You're goddamn right you do." I just want to continue emphasizing from the other video in this series that just Tom Cruise loves storytelling. He really loves the craft of making a film. It's so inspiring to hear this because, Tom Cruise is known for being a psycho Scientologist. That's like buried into his mythos. There's no escaping it. But when I see Tom Cruise, I'm not drawn to him because of his Scientology antics. I have a lot of admiration for Tom Cruise because he is just one of the few people in Hollywood, and there are a few, who really do care about filmmaking. It still is an art form to them. You still need to make a return on your investment to continue making more films. But Tom Cruise and a few other filmmakers can manage to do both. But because they are so attention to detail and the commitment.
Cut to 6 years later, he called me in for a screen test with Tom. And they both made it very clear that the way that they do Mission Impossibles together is that they find the actor that they want to work with. And then the three of us will collaborate and create a character very much as we go along in real time.
Hayley and I trained together during COVID because we lived near each other, and our amazing trainer, Sam Eastwood, was down the road, so we would go on socially distanced runs every day. And it was so bonding, and we got to go through a kind of 5-month journey together before we even started. And we bonded very closely, and I really love her, and I love Rebecca so much, and the women in this have always been a great inspiration to me. I'm very proud to be part of a group of women that are, so fierce.
When speaking with The Guardian, Rebecca Ferguson said, "Though I do remember Chris McQuarrie, the writer and director, and Tom saying throughout Rogue Nation that every entrance for Ilsa needed to be significant and important. Tom wanted to create an equal for his character, Ethan. He's bloody cool and strong, but also vulnerable. Ilsa has those qualities too. It's notable that their relationship, while dramatically charged, is powered by a mutual fascination and respect rather than romance." While discussing the themes of the Mission Impossible films and how it relates to the audience and the times we live in, she states, "Tom always says that he makes films for the audience, but I don't. That may be really selfish, but I don't go in thinking, how will the audience take this? I hope they enjoy it. But I do it for myself in the ride, and to make something that I would like to see. I have watched this one 3 times now." Then the interviewer proceeds to ask, how well do these films hold up years later? She responds proudly, "Bloody goddamn well."
We're filming Mission, but we're living Mission. And the friendship and the group dynamic is so important. It's kind of, you can sit in your trailer and have lunch, but we try and bring ourselves together a lot. So that dynamic you find between us has been built up because of the safety that we feel with each other all the time. And McHugh, I remember, said to me once when in the beginning. He said, you know, we've got Tom, the movie star, we've got Simon Pegg, who is this, we have Ving. You have to bring something, you know? Who's Ilsa for you? And I could feel this with all the characters. You know, Hayley. Hayley's phenomenal. Her wit, her timing, her, you know, precise quirkiness. It is such a character you fall in love with.
In conclusion, all the women impossible are sprung on that boy Ethan Hunt. Like I said, when it comes to spy movies, Bond is probably the most iconic. 007, shout out to James Bond, even though that franchise is soon to be doomed by Amazon. But no one's gonna be able to play Ethan Hunt for a while the way Tom Cruise did. Right now, he is just that guy. So I just want to give a special shout out to Tom Cruise for giving me 30 years of inspiration and entertainment. Yeah, the vast majority of people who work in the film industry want to make films for the fame, the influence, the accolades, but based on the different statements made by other actors who work with Tom Cruise, and even Tom Cruise himself, he makes movies to entertain the most important people, and that's you, the audience. So now that we're at the end of the video here, don't forget to check out my track inspired by the Mission Impossible film series called Mission Possible, streaming on all music platforms wherever you listen to your music. Apple, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, wherever you listen to your music at. Look me up under my music alias, NEKRO1990, track titled Mission Possible. And I'll catch you guys in the next series. For more uneducated expert analysis on film and cinema and the creative field in general, follow us on Twitter at Ghettoplex_MP4, on Instagram at Ghettoplex.mp4, and subscribe to us on YouTube at Ghettoplex.